host of the Gridiron.
All right. Welcome to the Gridiron. Maybe if you give this video a thumbs up or maybe share this video, that would be absolutely freaking awesome. If you subscribe to my channel, thank you. If not, please go down below, hit the subscribe button, hit that bell icon. That way next time I go live or if I put a video out, you'll be notified. And it's free of charge. What do you got to lose, right? But if you are subscribed, thank you. It means so much to me. If you want to help support my channel, the top link in the description box takes you to my membership page. I got 3 different membership levels. Each one has their own little perks to them. So once again, if you want to help support my channel, it would mean so much to me. And I thank you in advance. Thank you. And then finally, also, just a little ways down in the description box, there's a link. It takes you to my Facebook group. It's called the New York Giants, the Gridiron. It's my Facebook group. We have over 9,400 members in the group. It's growing daily. It's doing simply marvelous, might add. Basically, if I'm alive and breathing, and if I got internet access, I'm putting stuff in that group darn near 365. It's called the New York Giants, the Gridiron. It's my Facebook group. Please join it. You will not be dissatisfied. I promise. All right. Well, how about them cowgirls, huh? Woo-hoo-hoo. Taking it on the chin. Got a losing record, 3-4. Man. Oh, man. Well, we can probably pretty much chalk those losers off for the season. Doesn't seem like they'll be repeating as NFC East champions because you got 2 teams that both only have 2 losses. The Cowboys got 4, and they were this close to actually having a 5th loss. If the game that my son and I went to Pittsburgh, a couple Sunday nights back. Well, the Cowboys won Sunday Night Football once again, but it was like, I think they were down at the 4-yard line, whatever it was, 30 seconds ago in the game. Basically, it was all or nothing. It was 4th down at the 4. The Cowboys losing 17-30. They had to score a touchdown. Couldn't kick a field goal. Had to score a touchdown. It was 4th down. I think it was Tolbert. I think that's who Dak hit in the corner, very front corner of the end zone. The defender was there trying to knock the ball out in the hole, but Tolbert did a good job of securing the ball, came down with it, and got the touchdown. But, I mean, they don't get that on 4th down, they could be. The Cowboys are close to being 2-5. Wow! So they're 3-4. Don't look very good. And once again, it's just all these things that just like kind of pisses you off about the Giants. Let's see here. I mean, the 49ers had like 200 and something yards rushing. I know, I realize, I get it and all that stuff and everything. There, I gotta find it here. Little scoreboard. Yeah, I made our offensive line is better, yada yada, all that stuff and everything. Oh, there we go. All right, box score. I mean, they don't even have McCaffrey, the 49ers. And they ran the ball 36 times, 223 yards, 6.2 yards a carry. 223. Giants ran it 24 times for 26 yards. I mean, it's like, But anyway, looks like there'll be a quite possibly changing of the guards down with the Cowgirls after the season. Maybe McCarthy makes it because they still got a tough schedule. They still got to play the Eagles twice. Got to play the Commanders twice. They got some tough games coming up. They got some very tough games coming up. So, whatever this is, because I'm an idiot. Year 342 in a row that there will not be a repeat winner in the NFC East. Wow. Huh? Anyway, if you didn't get a chance, it's pretty good. It's pretty good stuff here. Basically the Giants obviously honored their great longtime owner, Wellington Mara, the Duke. It was named Wellington after the Duke, the Duke of Wellington. They named him Wellington. But I believe it's like with NFL films and all, they came up. I think it's about 45 minutes long. I don't know if it's on like NFL channel or this or that. I don't know. I saw it on YouTube. So if you whatever you type in, I guess Wellington Mara, the Duke, or the Giants, the Duke, or something like whatever. I'm sure his video will pop up. It was pretty good. I mean, the guy, when his father Tim Mara bought the Giants in 1925 for $500, Wellington was just like originally he was like the ball boy. He was 9 years old, and I think his older brother, if I remember correctly, I think Jack was 14, I think, at the time. I think 14, somewhere around there, 14. But anyway, his older brother was older. But I think it was 1930. His father, Tim, basically handed the ownership because, Tim but Tim had his father had a lot, he was a bookkeeper, so he had a lot on his plate. So basically, but he gave, like the ownership rights and all everything to Jack and Wellington in 1930. So, Wellington Mara was the co-owner with him and his brother of the Giants when he was 14 years old. Could you imagine nowadays? I don't know, with 14. Maybe, I guess you're a sophomore in high school. I guess. Could you imagine being a sophomore in high school and just walking in into your high school? And, yeah, that's right. I'm the owner of the Giants. Yep. How you doing? You know how good you'd look to all the girls? Oh my God. You're half owner to what are they worth? Like $6 billion, somewhere around $6 or $7 billion. Could you imagine all the girls? Ooh, huh? Oh man, you'd be the most handsome guy in the world. Let me tell you what. I mean, could you imagine at 14 years old? He became part owner. The one he was always on like the personnel side. His brother Jack ran like the business side. So between the two of them, they were just like, I mean, it was a match made in heaven. The problem is that early 1959, Tim died. His father died. He was getting up there in age. But the problem is 1965, his brother Jack died. Relatively early in life. Somewhat early. So all of a sudden now, Wellington was, his whole life basically he did the personnel side. So now he was trying to maybe with somebody else came in, who like inherited Jack's portion of the team. But, Wellington was trying, for the most part, trying to run the personnel and the business side and things. That was right in the middle. That was right in the beginning, shall we say, of the wilderness years, basically from 64 to 80, where the Giants had 2 winning seasons, no playoffs, nothing. So things, finally when George Young came in 1979 as the GM and he drafted Phil Simms, right? Things started turning around, but things were, it was a while there, things were not very good at all. But Wellington was, if you just look at the video, I mean, he was one of the first guy to take. He was up in like the stands. He was taking Polaroid pictures of like the other team, regardless whatever they were on offense or defense, just taking Polaroid pictures, and take the pictures, pops out, and I guess you wave or whatever like that. It develops, and I think he said he would put him in a sock or something like that, and put him in a weighted cleat or something, and he would. I don't know if they had a line. I mean, he said he was throwing him down to the sideline or something along. Maybe he walked down and he threw him, whatever it was. But he got him down to the sidelines, and they were his team was able, the Giants were able to look at some of these Polaroid pictures, and also he was one of those first ones to start doing that. But he was very instrumental as far as with scouting, recruiting players and bringing them in and everything. It was just really a very well done. It's only 45 minutes long. I mean, you realize the guy was, he was 80 years he was with the Giants. I mean, that don't happen very often. 80 years. I mean, if somebody like nowadays, one of these billionaires buys a team, well, the guy's not, unless he was born, or his parents just gave him $10 billion or whatever, most of these guys, if they're somewhat self-made, you probably, at least to be a billionaire, you should, probably at least maybe 30, 40 years old or so. So it's almost darn near impossible nowadays for somebody to come in, buy a team when you're 30 or 40 and be with the organization for 80 years. It don't, So Wellington was 89, when he passed away in 2005. So from 1925 to 2005, I mean, it was just, he's one of the patriarchs of the NFL. I mean, there wasn't many of them. Not many of them. I mean, George Halas passed away, quite a few years before. I believe he passed away in the 80s, I think it was. But, Mr. Mara, I mean, you just kind of almost took him for granted. Because when I first started watching in 1970, so he was 16. He was like 54 or so at the time, somewhere around there when I first started. And he was there for another 35 years. So I mean, he almost just took him for granted. He was always there. A lot of the players that you see in his video talking about him, like, who's that guy? Who's that old guy? He's there every practice. A couple of the players mentioned. There's probably other players that mentioned the same thing too, but maybe not a lot. Some of them actually maybe knew who he was, but he was there at every practice. He always wore like a fishing hat or just a baseball cap with a giant. I mean, he wasn't dressed in a 3-piece suit or something like that, but he was there every practice. You heard some of the players you'll see in his videos, like, who's that old guy? I think Lawrence Taylor might have been one of them. He's like, who is that old guy? That's the owner of the team. Yeah. So, but a lot of the players really thought a lot of him. I mean, because with the same thing with John Mara nowadays. I mean, Wellington, he was like, he was for the fans. He would actually return. I don't know if he did all the letters or not, but he would get letters from fans. They would write to him, and he would answer them in his own. That ain't happening. He would go out of his way. He would read them. I mean, he wouldn't, to try, I'm sure, to be able to respond to as many as he humanly possibly could. I'm sure he didn't give a 17-page return, response to their question, but he responded to questions. As I said, if not all of them, most of them, and that's pretty unheard of. He was always there, like in the locker room, like maybe after the game, just thanking the players and stuff like that. So he was, he cared a lot. He cared a lot. They said his name, the Duke. If you ever look at the Pro Football, right, it says the Duke on it. Well, that's him. I think he was responsible for negotiating for the footballs, I believe they said. And I think they said George Halas recommended that they put his name, not Wellington Mara on it, but put the Duke on there because of what he's meant for football, what he's done and everything like that. So every time, there's a football out there that has his name, the Duke on there. So I mean, it's very well done. I mean, the dude was around. I think from 1941 to 45, he was in the Navy, and oddly enough, this is something that I can actually relate to. He was on a ship called the USS Randolph. Well, interestingly enough, my father-in-law served on the USS Randolph as well, too. Not at the same time, because Wellington was 16. So he was probably about 25 years older than my father-in-law was. But my father-in-law, well, if Wellington served on it in like 1941 to 45, my father-in-law served on it probably like around 1960, somewhere around there. He was a little over 20 years old at the time when he served. I mean, Wellington had to do it because of World War II, right? But my father-in-law went into, he enlisted in the Navy. So they both served, interestingly enough, on the USS Randolph. And there was a couple times, because my father-in-law was in charge of like the reunions for the USS Randolph. And it was a couple of times that the Giants actually contacted him about getting some memorabilia from like maybe the Randolph, I think this was after Wellington passed away. So I think it was like in 2006 or 7. They actually contacted my father-in-law a couple of times about getting some stuff, some artifacts or whatever, anything from the USS Randolph. And at least a couple of times, my father-in-law sent stuff from the Randolph to the Giants front office. And I'm not sure what he sent. My father-in-law has since passed, so I can't ask him what he sent. I forgot. But he sent stuff to the Giants. They requested, something from the Randolph, which I said, interestingly enough, my father-in-law and Wellington Mara both served on the Randolph. I said, not at the same time, but they both served on the same ship. And because of that, interestingly enough, because my father-in-law sent stuff to the Giants from the Randolph, there was 2 times that my son and I, we went to the Giants Stadium. It was Giants Stadium at the time when the Cowboys played, and we actually got on the field beforehand. We got passes, and we still got them. So my father kind of worked a deal. So he just sent this stuff for nothing. But in the meantime, actually, he got a couple signed autograph footballs. One was Justin Tuck, another was Eli Manning, and I think I got another one too. Oh, I got a signed football, signed mini helmet too. That's what I got. But also, as I said, because my father-in-law sent them stuff for the Randolph, 2 times my son and I, we got on the field before the game to watch the guys. We weren't standing on the sideline before the game, watching the teams warm up and everything like that. It was pretty cool, really pretty cool. But I said, I mean, the guy was around for 80 years, 1925 to 2005. With the Giants. Okay, that's absolutely amazing. So I mean, the video obviously could have been a lot longer. I read a book on Wellington Mara. It was a nice book, very very nice book, very well written. I can't remember. I'm too much of an idiot. I can't remember who the author was, but he did a very nice job. And I read it, and it spans his whole life, pretty much. So I mean, so the video could have been a lot longer, but they kept it to about 45 minutes. It was very tastefully done. There's a lot of, Michael Strahan's in there, Jeremy Shockey's in there, Tiki Barber's in there, Eli Manning's in there, Ernie, of course, he's in a lot. Bill Parcells, Tom Coughlin's in it, Bob Papa's in there, Phil Simms is in there. So there's a lot of guys, a lot of real nice guys in there, and as I said, very very well done, and just fantastic. And just absolutely, we don't realize how lucky we were to have Wellington owner as an owner. And just one other thing before we move on to our next portion of our program here. It was it was back when they started. I think it was nice. I think he said 1960. I think it was 59 or 60 when they got a new television rights deal, because they got a television rights. The NFL did, and then the AFL got their own television rights. Well, what it was one of the things that Wellington, stood for was he wanted like equality, right? Meaning he wanted everybody to get the same amount of money. So all the money came in from the television deal, right? Whatever it was. It was 12 teams. Actually, it was 13 teams because the Cowboys just came in. So say it was $13 million. Just throwing a number out there. I have no idea what it was. So in 1960, say the television deal was worth $13 million for that 1 year. Well, what he did was he said every team should split the share, right? That way, every team could develop, pay their own players, develop, and all that. Instead of having, because he being in New York, you get more views, you get more people watching, and everything like that. If he did it, it's like, well, let's get whoever gets the most television views and stuff like that they get the more money. Whoever gets the least views, they get the least money. It could have been something like that. And then New York would have had the bigger share of the pie, and then like a team like Green Bay, right, with Vince Lombardi, they would not have hardly made any money because they're such a small market. Nobody's going to be watching them, right? So they would have had a hard time paying their players, keeping good players. Meanwhile, the Giants would have gotten the lion's share of the revenue, and they could have brought in good players, they paid good players more money, and maybe dominated. But Mr. Mara did not want to do that. He saw the bigger picture. There's a law. It's called give and you shall receive. Well, he gave and he received. Right. So he thought, big picture. Everybody, got the piece of pie. Everybody gets the same amount of pie. Share the revenue with everybody. So I said Wellington Mara was a very, very special man, and we were very, very lucky that he was our owner. Very lucky. For 80 years.